Gentlemen, thank you for being here. Thank you for those who are tuning in at home. This is the City of Waverly, Iowa study session meeting. It is February 23rd, 2026, and we are called to order. Please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Do I have a motion to approve the agenda?
I'll move the agenda as presented.
Second.
Any discussion? This is a voice vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. And welcome back, Teresa, for your final meeting. We missed you last time you couldn't be here, but hope you enjoyed the first time you were here. And I'll talk to you, come back to you at the end of the meeting and ask about any comments. But thanks for being here.
Thank you.
Okay, this is the time and place for public comments. Please limit your comments to 5 minutes unless additional time is granted by the presiding officer. All remarks shall be addressed to the council as a whole and not to any individual member. Are there any public comments? Please come to the podium and state your name.
My name is Brandy Clark. Hi, Luana. Hi. And I know I'm not trying to ruffle feathers, and really I'm not. I want to address the golf course. I know it is a hot topic issue. I feel that the golf course, if it's not making a revenue right now, we need to do something else with it. And if there are green fees that you have to pay, there are other fees that you have to pay, that should be sustaining the golf course and the golf clubhouse. That should not be taxpayer dollar. We have an issue right now with forever chemicals in our water. I don't think that putting taxpayer money into a building when we're having a problem with water, which is essential for life, I think the city would like to be more well-known for having good drinking water instead of, okay, yeah, we're just gonna throw taxpayer money into a building when there's other issues that are more important. Now, here's the thing, if if this passes, great. My life is gonna move on. I'm gonna move on. I respect everybody up here, and I've also talked to other people, not in this community, but from other communities that have municipal golf courses too. They say that their communities, not only are their golf courses sustaining, they are thriving. They have multiple fundraisers, they have multiple events to help get them what they need. And they do not rely on taxpayer money. That's all I'm saying.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Have a great night.
Any other comments? Okay, moving on. So on the study session, we are having a discussion about e-bikes. So I kind of brought this back up with some questions and with some thoughts. I have talked to some schools about what their thoughts are, but would you like to talk about what you found, Rich, or do you want me to talk about it?
No. Your agenda item, we'll let you lead it.
Oh, great. Okay, so I talked to the middle school principal and an elementary school principal about what they are doing with e-bikes. I think we've all heard a lot of the concerns about really not wanting kids to get run over, really not wanting kids to run over people, and what we can do about that. Our hands are a little tied. Not a whole lot has come down at the state level as far as direction. I know the middle school has sent out multiple communications with parents and students on what expectations are. I talked to the middle school principal, and if we come up with something, she's willing to help communicate whatever that is. They have these health session, breakout session things coming up in March or April, and she's willing to dedicate one of those sessions to bike and e-bike safety if we choose. I talked to the elementary principals, and they're hoping their lunch with the law will say something about it. I don't think they've talked to any of your officers yet, but they're hoping their officers for lunch with the law will address bike and e-bike safety. So that's kind of where the schools are. As far as the state, you've all gotten that study session report, I believe, so I probably don't have to go through all that. Yeah, and then tonight we were also provided with the electric bikes, some of the other ordinances that some Iowa cities follow. So, my question is, do we want to do anything? Do we want to wait and see what the state says? Do we want to set certain boundaries in the town that we request e-bikes stay off? What are the council's thoughts? We acknowledge that it is something that is hard for the city to enforce. It is hard for the police department to enforce. But what do we do about the kids zipping through Casey's who I almost smoked with my Suburban the other day? And I'm a cautious driver. I've never even had a ticket, I don't think. My concern is those e-bikes are on the high school. You have teenage drivers and kids on e-bikes. We've had comments about them zooming through Pullman Park. Does the council have any thoughts, ideas?
Is there something going on in the state legislature, like requiring a course or something to get a license for it? Like, you know, like.
So the state says that the motors cannot have a maximum output greater of 750 watts. So if it's under the 750 watts, then there aren't really any regulations around that. If it has more than that, it has to have a speedometer, it has to have a label affixed to it, and then it gets into where are those bikes allowed. Those are considered electric vehicles at the time if they go over that and the motor doesn't disengage when the rider stops pedaling. So that's another thing. When you're looking at e-bikes, can you tell that just from looking at them? Thoughts? Input?
All right, so I guess we can start with if there is any questions with the definitions of what an electric bike is. If we are all comfortable with what that is, what the Mayor was talking about is the 3 different classifications that an e-bike can get broken down into. To be classified as an e-bike, it has to have a motor no greater than 750 watts. And then class 1 and 2, max speed is 20. The class 3 is the 28 miles an hour. If it does not have pedals, or it has a motor greater than that, then it is not an electric bicycle, and it is not allowed to operate on our sidewalks or the road. So that was one of the questions is, you know, I know Walmart sells them that are 1,500 watts. So if you have purchased one of these, unfortunately, you should have maybe done a little research, but they would not currently be allowed. So we're only talking about electric bicycles that meet the definition of what the state code says an electric bike is.
So I have a sort of dumb question. So I've seen people speeding through like Coleman on what looks like an e-bike that has pedals, but they are not pedaling. And they're going faster than they would be if they were coasting.
So that would be a class 2 that has a throttle.
Okay,
Yeah.
thanks.
So yes, that would be, so even with the throttle, they still have to have a functioning pedals, even though you don't have to use them for it to be an electric bike. And unfortunately, if we want to talk about speeds, the class 3 has to have a speedometer, but the other ones don't. So if you put a speed restriction in some areas, unless you require them to add a piece of equipment, class 1 and 2s don't have a speedometer, they're not required to. And the age restriction for the class 3 is 16 years of age. Which I know the mayor put in there also about the electric personal assisted mobility devices. So instead of repeating that over and over again, let's just use Segway is an easy way to shorten that down. And state law says you have to be 16 for a Segway as well.
So 1,500 watt ones aren't even allowed on the roads? They're not considered like mopeds?
No. Well, so they would be, you're right. They would be allowed.
But they'd have to be licensed like a moped or?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. At
So
that
they fall
point, they're
under.
considered a motor vehicle.
Okay.
Yes.
And is that disclosed when they purchase them, do you know?
I don't believe that there's regulations that are given to them, no. And then here's the other thing, so the question is, can we tell from a distance? So the class 3 classes, the manufacturer or the person distributing them has to have by law what class it is. That's 1, 2, or 3. To be honest with you, I don't know how our guys would determine what that is other than seeing the label affixed to it, and we'd have to be next to it. The unfortunate thing too with technology, there are some that will get sold at 750 watts, but you can download an app and you can remove the class 2 restriction and you can output 1500 watt and it's the same thing. And then you're required to take the sticker off.
Because it's no longer.
Because it's no longer class 2.
Yeah.
It's a longer e-bike. Modified hot rods.
What, Chief, what's your recommendation, because it's your department that has to enforce it?
I think the minimum is that we would include the definition within our bicycle ordinance. Our bicycle ordinance already says that you have to follow the rules of the road. I think that would be at least a good start. And after that, it gets difficult. I have, you know, the list of cities that have the ordinances where I would say the vast majority of the ones I found have just done that, included the definition. There are a few other ones that put more restrictions on, whether it be a helmet for class 3 or for all of them. They've bicycle safety flag, age restrictions. Unfortunate thing about some of the age restrictions is that at 14 you can have a moped. So I don't know why you would restrict, like Waterloo has it at 15, but they could have a moped a year earlier. So that age doesn't make a lot of sense, but. And those that, I think I highlighted a couple things from our bicycle ordinance as it pertains to thinking about our concerns with what e-bikes are doing. The bicycle operators have the same rights and duties as the operators of vehicles. So I mean, we want to make sure they're stopping at stop signs. We want to make sure that they're yielding when they need to, that they have to observe all traffic rules and regulations. Also, in our bicycle ordinance, it states that pedestrians upon sidewalks shall have the right-of-way at all times over persons using or operating a bicycle. So that would include an e-bike if we added that definition as well, that pedestrians still have the right-of-way on their sidewalk. And then the improper operating, our bicycle ordinance currently says it is unlawful for any person operating a bicycle within the city limits to operate in an irregular or reckless manner, such as zigzagging, stunting, speeding, or otherwise riding with disregard for others operating. So again, if we added the e-bikes, I know that was some of the concern about people, the irregular, zigging and zagging through pedestrians.
I guess
So at least do that, I would say.
that would be I think we have a hard enough time with bicycles. I've mentioned it before. I see bikes blowing through stop signs in town all the time. And to try to be more strict on the e-bikes when we can't necessarily even tell what class they are right up front. And I think adding them to the bicycle ordinance and having some kind of bicycle class through the schools that would reinforce some of that is certainly at the middle school age is one where they might have a little more start to understand there's a responsibility to that, but I think it's hard to regulate beyond that.
Would any of these things, any of the special restrictions that you put on the G, would any of those make your life easier or make it safer, in your opinion? What are your thoughts?
I'm reading through them again.
Yeah.
Age restrictions, I think, are just tough. I do know that there was the chiefs in the Des Moines metro area tried to come up with a model policy that they've tabled at this point. down there, obviously, they wanted to get together because you don't want to drive in one city and the next city have different rules. So they're going to try to come up with a model policy. And one of the things they did there is I believe they separated the class 3 out and they required helmets for class 3. But again, you know, unless you're going to do that internally as a household, it'd be tough for us to see that. You know, and possibly I can see some concerns in the business district.
Does our bike policy allow bikes to ride on the sidewalks in parks, like at the Ball Diamonds and at Coleman?
Yes.
It does,
They're
okay.
allowed to, yeah. And that's what the state law says too, is that they're currently, by state law, they're allowed to operate anywhere a bicycle is allowed to operate by state code. So I don't know that we could even restrict them off of the roads if we didn't want them on the roads.
That's what I was looking at, Sergeant Bluff says not on public roads, but
Yeah.
I'm like, I thought bicycles were allowed on public roads,
Yeah.
so that seems hard to,
Yeah, I don't
Well,
know if
and
that's
how do you define
hard to square
business
up.
district?
business district.
That's the other-
We used to have it downtown, basically this
Fifth to fifth.
east side of the river was not allowed, and we did do away with that.
But then the disadvantage of that, then you put them in the road.
Yeah.
Teresa?
I would like to see just that we follow the state definitions and just allow them where we allow bikes. I think it'd be simpler for your department. And kids can be reckless with a bike just as they can an e-bike.
I think it's a great idea to do something with the principal and the middle schoolers and when they're doing their safety talks. I think that was a good
Yeah.
idea.
Doing more education and maybe
Yeah.
a reminder in the parks that pedestrians do have the right of way. Just
Yeah.
as
A
a
sign.
reminder.
Yeah.
Well, how about education with the parents? I mean, the
Yeah.
children are not buying these bikes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And so, you know, you can talk at an assembly at school all you want, but unless you're reaching the parents, I don't see how it's going to make a difference, but. Teresa, did you have a comment?
Yeah, so I work in the insurance industry, and I know that this is an evolving and ever-changing situation as e-bikes have evolved. I know that currently in the state of Iowa, people don't have to have liability coverage on e-bikes, but as they continue to grow and get more powerful, we get, on the daily, we get questions, how do we, do we want to put this on our policy? We encourage them to put the e-bike on their policy. So I think that these are only going to get bigger and better, and I think if you have education out there, for people that don't understand it, I think that would be very proactive. And again, we see in the industry that it's going to be something that, it's an investment. They want to cover their investment with an insurance coverage. So I think the more education we can provide for people, I think the better.
Yeah, it's interesting, this is popping up now in the medical journals. In California, the main group trying to ban e-bikes is trauma surgeons because of all the wrecks they're seeing and pedestrians killed and bicyclists
I think
killed.
a lot of it is
and-
coming from, in the insurance side is that we're getting these claims.
Mm-hmm.
And how is that categorized in, how is that? Is it a motor vehicle? No. Is it a bike? Well, no, yes, but no. So it's very cloudy, and I know that there's going to be more and more information coming out as far as coverages for those particular coverages.
Yeah, I mean, we talked at the meeting about should we try to restrict where they are, because I think the people who had contacted us initially were mainly, speaking about nearly getting run over in a park, mainly, not, but again, I think it's very difficult to enforce. You can't really do age, who can tell how old anybody is? You can't tell what class of bike it is. You can't catch them for speeding if they don't have a speedometer, and they're modifying bikes, and we have no way to regulate that.
Right.
And so, yeah, I agree. I think you start by making it clear in the ordinance that you're going to be treated just like bicyclists. And then I don't know if citizens should start calling it in to the police or alerting the police. I don't know how else to get it to people's attention. And then is there a fine if you're riding a bicycle recklessly? What's the fine?
It's a simple misdemeanor, so up to $200. Yeah. And then we can enforce that on 12-year-old, right?
Well,
That's the fun part. So I was hoping, I know James might laugh at this, I was hoping the state might help us out, but, because there was proposed legislation, but that didn't make the first funnel.
and was
so-
that for 2021, that House file?
No, there was one for 26.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
they were gonna make a new code section. I think 235 is the e-bike and bikes.
Yeah.
They were gonna do 234, they were gonna make it, they were gonna, even the micro mobility, which is your scooters and your,
Yeah.
like razors and hoverboards, they were gonna make one code and they didn't make it.
Yeah.
I guess nothing's truly dead until, but it didn't make the funnel.
I mean, you don't want to restrict people using them because, you know, like we heard from someone who came to the original meeting, it's helped a lot of people who have limited mobility or otherwise would not be able to get out and ride a bike. But, you know, the recklessness, I mean, people, you mentioned bicyclists going through stop signs. Well, cars are going through stop signs all the time. And so people are just sort of reckless in general. But yeah, I guess we start with education and somehow figure out how to educate the parents. And, you know, the insurance industry might be a good way to do that somehow, right? Because if there is a
We
claim,
have several underwriters that will come in on site or provide white paper, white sheet facts, so we can, you know, paraphrase, copy, share it with our, you know, our schools and
yeah,
let them know that there is a liability issue to it for the parent. I mean, and we want to make sure that, you know, they don't have a financial obligation in regards to a crash. You know, either a medical claim or a comp claim or.
Yeah, I think that would be a good asset. If we can hit it from parents and kids at the same time, maybe we can even talk to the library with their summer programming if they do some stuff. Elementary school, middle school, lunch with the law. If we can kind of come up with, if we're going to add this to the definition of our city ordinance, that'd be great. That gives us a little bit more to stand on. And then we just really hit that education, because again, you can tell your kid to wear a helmet, they're ditching it as soon as they're out of your eyesight because they look like a dork and they don't want to look like a dork, you know. It does come down to parenting, it does come down to kids, but kids are gonna be kids. So what do? We just keep educating and hoping it sinks in. I kind of think at this point, there's not a whole lot more we can do without state backing.
Can we engage Newt's, the business downtown that sells e-bikes, and see what, you know, what their take is or how they would educate?
He came here.
he came to the
October.
meeting. Yeah, he was at the meeting when we discussed it.
So if Walmart's selling them now too, I mean, it's not like we just have one source
Yeah.
Right.
to hand out information.
Again, once they're sold, what people do
Right.
with them, because
Yeah.
Modify them.
I'm at the middle school every day and I see the kids leaving and they always have a helmet on. And they're actually like the big round face, you know, looks like a
Okay.
motorcycle helmet. So I haven't seen any kids without a helmet, at least at the school. But I haven't
Good.
seen the high school, so I don't know.
Like to hear that.
Yeah.
Get 'em ice cream.
I'd be interested to see what cost it would be maybe for signs for like Coleman, for South Riverside, bike trail, just to have some
Slow down signs or
slow
watch out for
down.
pedestrians. or
Pedestrians
whatever.
have right of way, I mean,
Yeah, pedestrians have right of way.
though unfortunately some people, when they think they're on a bike, they think they're a pedestrian because they consider a vehicle a car or a truck. They don't consider a bicycle a vehicle even though it's mechanized.
Maybe Garrett, you could bring some costs, sign costs, how many signs you'd want and what the cost would be.
Would the main focus from you guys probably be South Riverside, Coleman Park, the rail trail, maybe Cedar River Park?
Yeah, I think the big
else?
walking parks, and I don't know about Nestle Bridge,
Okay,
but I think one thing in our favor this summer is that now the bridge is open, because they were zipping past Four Queens, you know, because they didn't have to stop. Didn't have to stop at that intersection. So at least they'll have to make a turn now, which will slow them down a little bit, but I would say mainly the park areas and the big, you know, pedestrian areas.
So
Maybe
look at,
something near the pool.
Yeah, just
Yeah.
see what they run.
Okay, so we'll look into some signage, we'll look at including the definition in our ordinance, and we will talk to the schools and libraries some more about education. Sound like a good plan for now, until we get further direction from the state?
Your Honor, could I make a comment, please? This is Julie.
Sure.
I find myself really struggling with feeling like this is such a moving target because things have changed so fast, as you guys have already commented, and we don't know for sure what's going to come down out of the state in the future, which I guess it would be really nice if we knew what the state's intentions are as well in terms of state code. But I agree with what's been said today about, I think it's great to be working with the schools and, you know, maybe the library, focusing on public education, all of those things that we have talked about, and hopefully targeting some of the areas that seem to have been problematic in the past, like Coleman Park and so on. But I also think it's important for us to kind of maintain a 20,000-foot view here and see this as an ongoing issue that's going to continue to evolve. And I hope that we don't just kind of put a Band-Aid on our local ordinances and then think that we've taken care of it. I think it's something that we need to monitor as the industry changes and as our recreational patterns in town change. And I would hope that we could, as a community, also be looking as a long-term goal at just being more pedestrian-friendly in many different ways in our community, and that this piece would just be one piece of that puzzle.
I think this will be on the radar and just kind of ever-changing as we get more direction. I think there's room for improvement with communication on where pedestrians should walk and run, and bikers needing to follow signage. So there's a lot out there. But as far as e-bikes go, I think this is nothing that will ever be set in stone. It'll just be changing as we are given direction. But I think this is a good starting place, at least for trying to be proactive.
I think just adding it to the bicycle ordinance for now.
Kind of give it a classification.
Give it a new one.
Yeah. Any other thoughts on e-bikes? Okay, item 2, discussion of fees for block parties and special events.
I kind of initiated that, or do you want to, Carla?
Yeah, go ahead with the block parties first, that is just fine.
The Human Equity and Diversity Commission had created this great pamphlet on having block parties. And I just didn't want that to, and I've heard from a lot of people that they really enjoyed having those block parties. And I've also heard folks asking about what the city is doing to promote the 250th celebration of the United States. And so I thought it might be something that we could do as a city, either to have a chosen weekend or weekends, or get rid of the fee for the block parties, and just something that we could discuss and, yeah.
Talking about getting rid of the fees for the 250th celebration, or just, is that what you?
That was my initial thought. I don't know.
I know I talked to the chamber and they have people working on it. I don't know what that means or what stage they're in of planning. I don't have any clue what the plan is, but that's what I hear. I don't know what that looks like. I don't know if you've had those conversations.
You mean for the 250th?
Yes, for the 250th. I have no idea what that looks like, but.
How many block parties were there last year?
I would say a handful. I mean, 5 or 6.
Four
You had
or
like
6.
each
Yeah.
ward, didn't you?
sorry?
Wasn't one for each ward?
I think that was the year before.
Was the year
Was that the year
before,
before?
I
Yeah.
think.
Yeah, I think we had 5 or 6 last year.
Okay.
How about special events? Same number, or?
I think there's more special events anymore.
Yeah,
People are
it's
filling
kinda-
that out as a necessity or just an easier way to accomplish them. So I think we're seeing more special events.
Because special events, you typically don't block a street.
Right.
And with the block parties, that's basically what is, yeah, I mean, it's happening on the street that's blocked. And so it's like for a block long. And then the neighbors get together and
And we're providing barricades, picking up barricades. I mean, it is actually blocking off a street. That's part of why the fee was established, was to help offset some of that cost. We don't have an exact cost on it, but just something to help with that, because it is, you know, weekends, drop them off, pick them up, set them up sometimes, tear them down. So that's why it was there.
I do like the idea of trying to encourage something with that this summer for the 250th, if we were to pick a couple weekends, and I would be in favor of waiving the block party fee for that if there was an actual organization, have them still do the form, but
Right.
then
Waive the fee.
waive the fee for that if we pick 2 weekends or something like that and say, you want to have a block party in this time frame.
Yeah.
And that kind of was my initial thought too, is the weekend before 4th of July and then the weekend of 4th of July.
Well, and I think, you know, we have Heritage Days, which is what, a couple weekends after that. So that's another good time for people to do events. City staff is busy that week helping, so that might put, you know, a bit of a burden on staff to do it simultaneously, but.
Yeah, what kind of impact would that be if they would have multiple block parties all on the same day? Because that's important to hear from leisure services and who would do the setup too.
And
It'd be mostly just.
Public works suggestion.
With the barricades.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty minimal, and it's a couple barricades on each end. Depends on the organizer, a lot of times they're dropped off ahead of time and they place them and they remove them. That's the good ones, those are the ones we like, and usually that's what we require.
If we were to advertise it far enough in advance to make sure that it is organized, that there is a driving force for each individual one that has kind of central responsibility, which the application has some of that too, so.
Yep.
But certainly, I think, from a city standpoint, to encourage, I mean, in addition to Heritage Days, we don't step on the 4th celebration out in Shell Rock typically, so have our own here, but I don't think this would be stepping on that at all. This would be our own way of encouraging within the community.
would that be for, like, an all-weekend thing, or certain hours during each day, or, you know, where I'm kind of going with that? If we want to do it on just like a Saturday from 4 to 7, or, you know, that kind of thing. Just throwing that thought out there.
Well, it looks like the application says it can go from 9 AM to 11 PM.
Right, but for the whole weekend, or are we just going to have them pick a day of that weekend?
If we pick a couple weekends that we say these are the designated celebration weekends.
I think the application says it can only be one day.
Yeah, it says the same day.
Yeah,
You don't
so you said
Okay.
Yeah.
that Saturday
Yeah,
and
sorry.
Sunday to choose.
Yeah, okay.
So no more than one city block may be closed for event, and no more than 2 events per day. Is that citywide?
That's how I read it.
So we'd have to change that. That's at the bottom of the application.
I think as if you want to change the application as a whole, or if
Yeah.
you just want to do it for that time period just for this year. That would just be something we would add in as a subset for just that
Appendix.
time period, exactly.
Oh, no more too.
And
So
we
it's not
could pass a
changing the entire
resolution.
program. What's that?
We could pass a resolution that regulates
For that
that.
time period, this is what, yeah, you could do that. We can bring that back.
On a weekend.
So we can bring that back to council to discuss and pass further, and kind of outline some of the things you talked about, try and get that assembled, and then you can craft it, and at least you have an official resolution on record
Yeah.
to show what will happen, time frame. Think about those time frames you're wanting to have that occur, and we can get that back to you.
It is on a Saturday. It would be helpful to know if the chamber's got something
Yeah.
cooking.
Well, I would think, yeah, have
You know.
James and Mayor talk with the chamber to see if they've got any specific plans in place that,
We can touch base with her and see what's in the works. Any other discussion on block parties?
well, not to bring up a sore subject, but if we did that in June, would we waive like a firework ordinance portion of that?
Don't even go there.
No,
Just,
no, because I don't want people shooting them off in the street.
okay, I just, somebody may
More
want.
than they already
with the-
do.
Somebody may want with the celebration, if they were doing a celebration.
Yeah, well, you remember the first year.
Yeah, if we do it,
Fireworks.
if we do it later in July, we're past the state time frame for it,
So if they
so.
have a block party, they can apply for a special event permit and go ahead and get their pyrotechnic people with their licenses and do it that
Yeah.
way,
Okay.
which is also
Wow.
done on the 4th of July.
And our fireworks permit doesn't cost anything.
Right.
You just have to have the right insurance and.
Just make sure everybody's in place, so fingers come off, you know what you're gonna do.
Yeah,
Things like that, so.
yeah, all boils down to insurance. Tonight's
Back to
meeting, all
insurance.
boils down to liability.
Okay,
Special events, ma'am.
that takes us to the special events discussion.
Just a little background on that. So, you learn a little bit as you go. And last year we learned that the special event permits don't really include those groups of people that say want to have yoga in the park every week, or maybe like the farmer's market. And we found ourselves struggling on how do you charge somebody who wants to have a repetitive event for a season? And we didn't really feel like it was fair to charge them the full special event permit for every single time. But we're trying to be fair and trying to set a fee that would be also paying for using private or public property, because these groups that we experienced last year anyway, were making a profit from using public property. Therefore, we felt like it was just to look into this a little more. So we'd be real curious to what your thoughts and comments were on that.
Because right now, say the farmer's market, do they have to do a permit for every week that they come? There's a different permit?
We have not made them do that.
Oh, they haven't had to do that, okay.
No.
But we don't think it's fair to have one permit for 16 weeks in a row.
Right.
Okay.
I don't think that's fair either, so we're trying to establish a weekly or monthly permit. If it's 4 days a week or 5 weeks in a row, what does that look like? And that's kind of the gist of what we're wanting to see from you. Fair amounts, things like that. If it's all volunteer, that's one thing, but when you're charging memberships to go do these things, then it becomes an issue, and I think we need to adjust this and draft out a different resolution.
And I would even go to, as far as to say, if you have certain nonprofit groups, maybe we should look at that as well. Political campaigns or Bible studies, other types of groups that,
Well, we have a municipal band every week.
right, and I don't
And
know
so-
if they pay or how that works. That would be a Garrett question.
Yeah,
So,
and that's a tradition, that's a year, throughout the summer.
yes.
Using public, I mean, they don't charge, it's free.
And we
whatnot,
currently
we
have concerts in
sponsors.
Coleman as well, and they do fill out a special event permit for that 8-week period.
But as you said, that's not a profit-making center,
Right.
does it? I
Correct.
think that's a differentiation we're trying to
Yeah.
get to, is if you're charging and making money off public property, that's not really allowed. But if you're doing a charitable concert, that's a whole different animal, and I think we can tolerate that. But the
Yeah, I
other
would agree
is
with
not really fair to other people wanting that space, if you're especially charging and making money. So we need to
On a
find
week
some kind
after
of a
week.
monthly amount, weekly amount if it's multiple days a week. It's not something we wanted to complicate, but we also have people complaining about it, so I do think it has to be addressed at some point.
So how is it handled at other levels of parks? So like, for instance, you go to a national park and there's private entities who charge people to take them on a tour or put them on a boat through the park or something. And so they must be taking out a permit to operate in that park, but do they have to do it every day?
Contracts.
Or every week?
I have no idea.
They have a contract
I
of some
think,
sort.
I think there's contracts on those.
You'd have to have
Tours.
insurance, you'd have to have all kinds of things to allow that to happen. I don't know what that would look like, so.
How does the farmer's market work now? Do they do a permit for each Saturday morning?
We just do one permit for the season right now.
Okay.
Again, we don't think that's necessarily fair, but yet I don't want to charge them every single week a
Yeah.
permit too. Because they have to reimburse that back to the vendors, but.
So we're trying to be fair to those that
So is
fill it
it-
out for one weekend a year too. I mean.
So
they're
like the
paying
art in the
price.
park, do they have to fill out a special events?
That's a whole special event permit, different, yeah. That is, we do the art walk, that is a whole different special event permit. They
So
get
it's a
their
one-time
weekend
deal.
fee, and that's it, because it's only happened once.
But it's private
through the summer.
vendors making money in a public space, just like farmer's market, but, I
And
mean,
it's just like Heritage Days and everywhere else where you have food vendors that are there
Yeah.
making money.
Yeah.
So it's as similar,
Oktoberfest.
again, that's where the permit comes into
Mm-hmm.
effect.
really seems to be a summer thing,
Yeah.
right? Yoga in the park or whatever. It's-
National Night Out. It's a one-time thing.
But I think it's free to the public, so,
So we've had people complaining
yes.
that people are doing yoga at the south end of
And
Coleman Park.
charging for it, correct.
Okay.
I could name them, but that's probably not a good text,
No,
so we
no,
won't
no.
do that. But
You
yes,
know,
we
which is
have.
a spot of the park that you never see used for anything else,
Correct.
honestly. And so,
Someone else thought they might want to do it, and they found out they're charging, and therefore, and here we are, so it's just the way it works.
Do we know how other municipalities do this? I'm thinking
That I
like
do not know,
Clear
sir.
Lake, you know, places that have events often. You know, Amana, other.
We can look into that.
I
That might be
did
helpful.
call Cedar Falls in Charles City. And
'Cause they have big
Charles
farmers
City,
markets.
actually, their chamber handles all of it. And so it's kind of through their chamber, but their chamber is part of the city. And so they just have like, they do their fees differently. It's like, seems like I remember that they have like a $50 fee for like a season per vendor. Cedar Falls, no charge at all for any of it. So it's gonna range no matter where you know, depending on who you ask and when.
I think it'd be interesting to see what other, like with the e-bike, to see what other cities are doing. You know, especially for these summer seasonal events, do they make them take out a permit once a month? Do they make them take out more than one permit depending on how many weeks it meets?
Sure.
Is there anybody,
See how much
any
demand there is.
events that are held more than once a week? I know like the farmer's market is once a week. Is yoga, is it once a week, twice a week?
No, there's too many that are multiple times a week.
So,
I think farmer's market's twice a week, isn't
Is
it?
it
Thursday
Thursday
and
as well?
Saturday?
I don't think they do. They used to do
Tuesday,
Tuesdays.
Saturday, they used to be, but he was on
do.
that.
I think it's just Saturdays.
It's just now
Saturday,
Saturday.
just Saturdays now.
So I don't know of any multiple week unless, again, maybe, I don't know if yoga's once a week or is that twice or,
Just once a week right now. I don't know if Jade plans on changing it for
I
this
think
season.
you could come up with a sliding scale based on the weeks.
sure.
You know, and the more weeks you use, the less you pay.
I think we can do that.
I think we need to do it, make it so that it's encouraging events.
Yeah.
You know,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
because that's what makes it fun to live in Waverly, is having events and things. And if we don't want events, then we can price ourselves right out, but.
Yeah, we don't
Well,
want
you don't want to
this
discourage
cost-
creative
Exact-
small
yeah,
business owners
right.
either, right? I mean, you
And we
know,
do already have one special event scheduled for this summer already, and I have another email this morning from other people, so this is very timely,
Yeah.
and we probably need to, I'll get to work on this as soon as possible, so.
We'll check with other communities for pricing and then depending on what we find there, we'll bring back something to have you actually vote on based on some kind of a sliding scale or some way to promote that, so. Nope, that'll work.
Okay.
Any other thoughts on that? Update on the new Aquatic Center. Garrett, please.
I don't have a whole lot to update you on tonight, but we will take a quick look at these pictures that I shot today. A lot of what's been going on the last few weeks is getting the plumbing in for the locker rooms, the chemical storage room, the restrooms, and the the pump area, pump room. So that's what you're looking at all through here, is those things I just mentioned. And you can kind of probably see it better in this one. This is all the plumbing stuff coming through there. I wasn't gonna stand around and count how many pipes there were around there, but their next step here is, you see these blocks laying out. They're gonna put these blocks on top of the foundation footings here that they have. Then they will fill this whole area back in. All of this will be filled in, and then they will pour the floor to the building. So that, they're hopeful will be done towards the end of this week. So we'll just see how the weather does and if they're able to get to it. Hopefully there's no snow on Wednesday night, but we'll see. That, yeah, those are the next things coming. So hopefully they'll have a little better update next time.
So Garrett, is this just to the west of the building that's up, the concessions building?
Yes, it's directly to the west. Here's the concessions
Oh, there it is.
building.
Okay.
You can
Oh, there it
see
is,
in the
yeah.
background there.
Okay,
And so, yep, this is just to the west.
gotcha.
So once that, the floor gets in, it'll take about a week to cure, and then they'll get the rest of the walls built up. So in a couple of weeks, we should see the walls of that building.
Wow.
Any other questions? All right, thanks, guys.
Thanks, Garrett.
Thanks, Garrett. Thank you.
Okay, council, you've received the report from the Airport Commission. Is there any discussion? Nope, that brings us to staff updates.
Just a quick snow update from the last snow that we ended up getting way more than they predicted. It was a tough plowing for us. We had a lot of equipment breakdowns. If you hear some complaints or people concerns, we were a little later than normal. We pride ourselves on trying to get done before noon. The last truck got to the shop at 4 p.m. and they started at 2 a.m. So it was a really long day, and I hope people appreciate, we tried our best. We had problems, and it was a really tough snow to plow. So if you get anything, just pass it on to me and I can address those concerns.
Along with that snow, in case anyone's wondering, the sledding hill is open. So we'll see. Hopefully it won't be open too much longer. Get rid of the snow. That's all I've got for you tonight.
That's all we have tonight, yeah.
Thank you. That brings us to city council comments. Councilperson Rothy?
Yeah, I appreciate the public works crews and the first responders and everybody who had to be out in it, but I figured something was up because, yeah, streets are usually done, but I headed into the hospital before 8 and the snow routes were done. Just a reminder to people, you gotta move your cars.
Yeah.
That was a big problem on some of those streets. But yeah, the guys had a tough night, but I appreciate their hard work.
Councilperson Kangas?
Yeah, I echo that. The work that they got done, had to go through. I ended up having school on Friday. We had a late start, but we still had school because Mason did not have as much snow as we had down here. But slogging up, getting up past Charles City was a bit of a slog, even on 218, which is usually pretty well cleared, and the DOT was clearly having issues getting it all cleared out, so.
Councilperson Herman?
Nothing tonight.
Councilperson Jones?
Snow related, kudos to the Waverly Police Force Chief. I went by, there's a elderly couple that live on Highway 3 in town, and clearly the state plow had pushed a lot of snow in their driveway. And the senior citizen lady was in her car. I don't know if she had called in to your department or what, but I went by and one of your officers was out there with a hand shovel, shoveling her out of her driveway so she could get onto Highway 3. I thought, yeah, that makes me proud to be
a citizen of Waverly. Good job to your force, so thank you.
Councilperson Mackey.
Echoing the snow removal, it was fantastic. I got a kick out of driving near Wartburg. It reminded me of my college days at UNI at Cedar Falls, trying to snake through the cars that had not bothered to get moved in time for someone to get around. It's quite humorous. I'll be at the brewery tonight, for those of you listening or watching. I would love to hear public's views on e-bikes and all that sort of thing, where you all at, and on events. Let us know what you think, because we want to represent what you want as well. Thank you.
Absolutely. Councilperson Meyer, do you have anything to say?
I do, thank you. Just wanted to refer anyone who hasn't already seen it to the mayor's video that she posted on her Facebook page today. For those that don't know, it's the page Kristen Happel for Waverly, and the mayor did a video explaining the issue of the golf course clubhouse and why renovation is needed, and I thought that she did a really great job providing good objective information about that. So for anyone who hasn't seen that yet, I would recommend going to Facebook and taking a look at that. It's very informative.
Thank you. Councilperson Wolf.
Thanks for the snow removal, and also thanks to the neighbors who come through for their neighbors who are having difficulty getting out and doing their, there's been a lot of neighborly things going on because of the really heavy snow, and that's really wonderful to see too.
Guest councilperson.
I'm going to piggyback off of your comment. I really shout out to the citizens of Waverly on the Waverly Town Hall Facebook page. People were asking for assistance for shoveling, and people jumped in immediately. Hey, where do you live? Give me your address, we'll come over. And it was just really, it was comforting to see that we came together as a community and just helped each other out. So, and shout out to the city for scooping me out of my driveway as I got, well, the street as I got stuck. So they were very kind, and they showed up with shovels, so I appreciate them as well.
Wonderful. Have you enjoyed your time as guest councilperson?
I have. Thank you so much for this opportunity. It's been very fun. It's good.
Okay, well, City of Waverly, thank you for spending some time with us tonight. Julie kind of said what I was going to say, so thank you for that support, Julie. I have put a video out there explaining the golf course clubhouse renovation project that we are proposing, so please check that out if you have questions. I had to redo it 4 times because I just got very, very lengthy, so I tried to chop it down to about 10 minutes, but if there's other questions out there, please point people in the direction of the correct information, so we are getting the facts out there instead of just the opinions that are out there. And it sounds like we have a lot of good going on in our community right now, neighbors helping neighbors, but I encourage you, if you cannot find the good in your community, find a way to be the good in your community. And with that, do I have a motion to adjourn?
Move to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? We are adjourned.